Okay, good. Great to have you guys here. It's super cold. It is, my watch says you to register. It's like 2 degrees, 5 degrees in Columbus, Ohio, which is amazing. But today we have the special opportunity to hear from Kelsey Lensman. So I've known Kelsey since I started coming to the Armory. I got to train with her and train like the Buckeye. Just a true alpha female. She's the CEO of Empower Her, certified personal trainer. But what I love about Kelsey the most is that much like us, she wants to change lives. And I love training alpha females. And I think that there is a need for females to be strong and courageous because you're beautifully and wonderfully made. That's what she does. I love her content, so we're going to hear from her. I'm excited about this presentation, Seeking Discomfort. So let's welcome Kelsey Lensman.
Love you up here. Thanks, guys. So I have a funny story about that song. It's not my favorite song, okay? But some of you know that I did my first and honestly potentially last 100 about 2 weeks ago. And I was on mile 46. So I wasn't even halfway there yet. And I was literally on all fours. He might want to turn me down because I'm kind of loud too. I was on all fours. My feet were hurting so bad. And the only reason I got up is because I played that song. And I'm like, I just got to get my butt up right now. So I thought this was so appropriate for today because today I'm going to talk about seeking discomfort. And a lot of times when we think about seeking discomfort, it's like the physical, right? And like I said, this is the crazy 100 that I did about 2 weeks ago here. That was, I think, mile maybe 35, and I was like barely walking. And then this was me finishing it. My dad actually ran with me too, which was cool. He did about 40 miles a day, which is wild. And then this is the kicker. This was me 2 days later. I was hurting after that. And a lot of times when we think about discomfort, like we think about the physical discomfort, right? And you probably have me come up here and be like, okay, they're going to put a crazy event on the calendar. She's going to tell me to run 100 miles, which I will never do. I will tell you that. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. That's a type of discomfort. But what I'm going to talk about today is what I talk with a lot of our clients about is something about your whole life. It's a bigger picture of it here, okay? And so we're going to talk through 4 main points. And so the first point here is everything great is on the other side of your comfort zone. Everything great is on the other side of your comfort zone. And I'm not here to preach to you guys because y'all are pretty badass. I don't know if I can say that, but y'all are pretty badass, right? Like you know all these things, but this is something to really reflect back on your life to say, okay, where am I comfortable and where can I step out of my comfort zone in a different way that I might not have thought about it before? So that's number 1. Number 2 is we're going to really dig in and find your number 1 area of growth to pursue. And like I said, especially with physical discomfort, is many of you are really good at pushing yourself physically. I see you guys in the gym like you're training hard, but we're going to take a look at more of a bird's eye view about your whole life to say, okay, maybe it is a little bit more emotionally, maybe it's spiritually. How can I grow in other areas for it? So we're going to dig into that. Number 3 is you are meant to live, not just be alive. You're meant to actually live, not just be alive. And we'll get into it. And then last but not least here is, I always say, like, you seek it, which we'll talk about what it is, or it seeks you. And at the end of the day, you have the choice for that. So everything great is on the other side of your comfort zone. Number 2, we're going to find your number 1 area of growth. Number 3, you're meant to live, not just be alive. And then number 4, you seek it, or it seeks you. And those little PDFs, I'm a visual girl. I need something like tangible in my hand. So you guys can write on it. By all means, go for it. Don't feel like you need to. But I just like also, I don't know, I'm just a visual girl. I need it. So this is going to be real brief because today is about you guys. It's not necessarily about me. But to give context about all the craziness that I've done is I graduated from Ohio State in sports medicine. And I always say that I had my whole life planned out at that time. I did athletic training there. So then I was going to go to physical therapy grad school. I always say have 2.5 kids, have a white picket fence, and like ride off into the sunset. Like I had everything planned. And back then, I was very much like a play it safe type of girl. Like if it was a little bit uncomfortable, I'm like, nope, I'm going the right direction here. But this would have been my junior or senior year. I made a big change in my life. Like instead of kind of going out on the weekends, I really prioritized my physical health, but also mental and also spiritual health too. And that really got me to see that health is not just how you train. It's not just what you feed your body with, but it's who you surround yourself with, right? It's what you're putting in your ears. And because of that, I felt kind of a nudge deep in my soul my senior year, and I wanted to push it down so badly and not acknowledge it. But it was like, well, Kels, what if you could have started a business to help people the way that you were helped with coaches? And like I said, I didn't want to pursue it, but I said, okay, it's either now or never. I talk a lot about, I call it my rocking chair theory, is I think about me 90 years old on my rocking chair, and I always think, okay, in that version of me, am I going to be proud of the decisions that I made, or did I let doubt, fear, hesitation get in the way? And so I put that frame in my brain, and I started my company right out of undergrad. And it was prior to KML movement, and then that's transitioned and obviously grown into last year we rebranded to Expand Your Limits. And what we do with Expand Your Limits is we do all women's different types of events to really challenge them to step out of their comfort zone. And so we had one here in the spring. It was our all women's strength event. We had ages, the one prior, 7 to 72, which is crazy. We also do, expanding it this year, 2 more endurance events. So we have an ultra that we're putting on end of this year. Outdoors and hiking events. We have some Navy SEALs coming in and leading some events to really challenge women in different ways. And then also we call it resilience, and that's our breathwork, cold plunge, and sauna events. So the whole mission of this is to get you a little bit uncomfortable, to show you, hey, I can face fears and push through it, and show yourself what you can do on the other side. And I've seen this, but I always tell our women, when you do something physically that you didn't think that you can do, it opens you up of like, well, shoot, if I settled for that, like what else in my life am I settling for, right? So we have that, and then we also do one-on-one nutrition and fitness coaching for women all around the country. And then last 2 things here is I host a podcast called Seek the Edge. It's honestly what we're going to talk a lot about today, but like the mindset and training tips to really get you to become all that you can. And then last but not least, this was a crazy thing about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, is I created and then completed Mission 48, where I did 48 different fitness competitions in 48 states, and the kicker was in 48 days, where we went all around the country to inspire a lot of women and young girls to step out of their comfort zone and build true self-confidence. And then, do any of you guys know Rocks, Ruling Our Experiences, the charity? Love them. They're like my favorite. So we raise money for them to help young girls in confidence. So that's a little bit about me. But we're going to dig into this, and you guys are either going to love me, many of you are going to hate me for this, is number 1, everything great is on the other side of your comfort zone. So let's not talk about it, we're going to be about it. I'm going to get all you guys up. Yeah, every single one of you. I did this. I spoke to, listen. I spoke to an Ohio Health administrative group, all women, maybe ages like 60 plus. I had them do this, and they hated me initially, then they loved me for it after this. Okay, so spread out a little bit. What we're going to do is I'm going to have you do 30 seconds. I'm going to count your reps, too. No cheating reps over here. 30 seconds, max squats. Okay, 30 seconds, as many as you can do. Who's so not excited about this because they're still half asleep? I know, so you too. All right, you ready? I got the time. Don't get your time out of here. All right, you ready? 30 seconds, max squats. I will call bad reps. Yeah. All right, you ready? In 3, 2, 1, go. 30 seconds, as many as you can do. 30. Did you actually? Good, keep going. 10 seconds in. With the heels. She's got the heels on back there too. Let's go. 15 more. Count in your brain. I should have told you that prior. Good, keep going. Last 10. I promise you it's only 30 seconds. Good, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop. What's that half rep doing? No, I'm just kidding. All right, stay up. One more. Okay, you got that number in your brain? You got it? What's your number?
29.
She doesn't know. 26. She doesn't know. Okay.
Mean.
For those that don't remember, pick a number. Okay, for those that do remember, we're going to go one last time, and then you are sitting down the whole rest of the time. I pinky promise you. All right. I want you to think about that number. I know, I got you, Schlegs. Okay. Now I want you to set the goal for 10 above that number. So let's say you got, for example, 22. You're going to go 32. You're competitive. I know you're going to get this. All right, you ready? 10 above. In. We're going to see some quick. You got the legs going. 3, 2, 1, go. Try to get that goal for 10 above. There it is, good. Like I said, you are sitting down and you are chilling after this. Good, we're 10 in, we're 10 in, we're 10 in. All the way up, all the way down. Nice. This is very fitting at a gym. Usually I do this in office buildings and it can get real weird. Good, 10 more seconds, 10 more seconds. Last ones, last ones, last ones. Come on, get it. In 5, good, 4, good, 3, 2, 1, stop. Woo! Go ahead, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down. Like I said, y'all might hate me for this. I promise you there's a reason behind it. Who was able to get it? Any of us? Nice, all right. All right, so that's number 1. Like I said, you're chilling after this. Number 2 is I want you to look at the person on your right. If you don't have a person on your right, look to somebody behind you or whoever's around you, okay? I want you to tell the person to your right one thing that you have been proud of yourself for over the last 3 months. One thing that you've been proud of yourself for over the last 3 months. One thing you've been proud of yourself for over the last 3 months. After you're done, go ahead, give me some eyeballs. Who's tired? We got some sweat going. All right, eyeballs after, eyeballs after. Okay? For some of us, and don't look at this yet, for some of us, the physical is like, all right, we can push a little bit. For some of us, when I said, hey, tell somebody that you're proud of something that you've been over the last 3 months, that was uncomfortable. You're like, ooh, Kelsey, I don't want to do that, right? So first question is, when you did the last few reps, when I said, okay, we're going to set 10, and we did the last few reps, what was going through your brain or what did you feel when you're really trying to push at the end? Somebody give me something. Go ahead. Faster. Yeah, that's good. How'd your body feel? Tired? Yeah. Wait, give me your feeling. Yeah. What did you feel in the last, 10 reps when you were on this? It's almost there, right? Like, body was hurting. Second question here is, when I told you, hey, tell that person to your right something that you're proud of yourself for, what initially came up for you? Or what did that feel? And if you're being super honest with yourself, tell me what that is. Ooh, that's interesting. That's good. That's good. I appreciate you sharing. Give me another one. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Anybody else? Do you have your hand up? Ooh, that's good. That's a good reflection though, right? So we'll talk about this, but greatness is one step out of your comfort zone. We talked about that. And the reason why, yes, the physical, like I said, we're all gym goers. But sometimes the more of the mental piece, more of the emotional piece, more of the, ooh, what am I proud of myself for? That type of discomfort is the same benefit as pushing the gym those last 10 reps. And that's what we're really going to talk through here. And so Kyle back there, he was repping the sweatshirt. I was excited to see it. But this is the logo that I created for the company. And there's a reason to this. You'll see over here there's 4 different boxes. There's a big box, smaller box, even smaller box, and this 4th box, okay? All of our women at our events, which we're going to talk what these boxes represent, is they say everybody starts here. Everybody starts the big box. Only a few ever get to this 4th box. And what we're going to talk through is really trying to push you into that 4th box. And all of that is represented by this picture. I love it. I know it's simple. Who's seen this image before? No way. Not many of you? So some of you, this is like, okay, Kelsey, I understand this. But think about your kids. Think about people in your life, maybe the athletes that you serve. This is something that I talk so much about because it's just visual, but it's so applicable to our life. And so this first zone, that little red zone, is the comfort zone. I call it our surviving but not thriving zone. Like, we're safe, right? This is me. I love my dog. He's a pit bull. We watch Netflix all the time. That's my comfort zone, baby. Like, I'm safe. It's comfortable. And our brain craves it because it's known. The comfort zone isn't necessarily bad, but our brain loves to stay there because it's predictable. And think about it, your brain just wants to keep you alive. It doesn't necessarily want you to thrive. It wants to keep you alive. And so a lot of times here, it's like, man, why is it so hard for me to step out? It's because your brain just wants you to survive there. But just because we're surviving doesn't mean we're necessarily thriving, right? And so this is comfortable, this is safe, but at the same time here, no greatness is here. No greatness is in that comfort zone. We go to that next zone, which I call the oh crap zone, or put whatever word that you want to in there, okay? This is that fear zone. This is the, I have a goal, I have a dream, I have a desire, I want to run 100 miles, not really. Okay, how the heck do I do it, right? I'm not capable of it. Man, like that's for Susie and not me. This is where every doubt, fear, hesitation bumps up. And yes, this can be physical, but this can also be starting a podcast. This can also be starting a business. This can also be starting your Fairway program. You're like, I don't even know if anybody's going to join, right? This is that goal, but then, the what if that comes after it, okay? People bump up to this. It's like we step out of that comfort zone, we bump up with a little bit of that resistance, and then we automatically pull ourselves back. Because if you're anything like me, I thought, well, that's for them and not me. I automatically disqualified myself because I saw people doing the thing, and I'm like, I'm not fearless. Like, I don't have what they have, so I automatically pulled myself back, okay? But I tell our crew a lot, just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's not meant for you, number one, but it also means you've never been there before, okay? It shouldn't be comfortable because you haven't achieved the goal. We work a lot in the fitness world, and a lot of times when people get that resistance of like, ooh, Kelsey, this is hard, I'm like, yeah, you've never been here before. Doesn't mean that you can't do it, but it also means we got to push through that. So we go comfort zone, bump up to that fear zone. This third zone is a lot of people think, well, let me step out of that fear zone, and then rainbows and sunshine, baby. Like the business is built, the fitness goals are obtained, and what a lot of people don't realize, it ain't rainbows and sunshine initially. You can keep persisting through that fear, but this is the learning zone where it's like, wow, I have a ton to learn zone. This is when I started my business, and I'm like, how do I open up an LLC? What is a business bank account? Like I had no clue what I was actually doing, but I had to keep persisting through it, where this is the last one. And like I said, in our logo, it's the smallest one, which is the growth zone, which I call the wait, I didn't die zone, okay? A lot of times when we're stepping out of our comfort zone, we're persisting through that fear zone. Literally, in your brain, it almost feels like you're dying. Like your brain's like trying to keep you doing from everything from taking a step forward. But you lived through the scary thing. You did the thing that was uncomfortable. Wait, you didn't actually die. And it gives you that confidence, not that you can continue to do all these crazy things, but hey, if I did this and I'm still surviving, what else can I do that I'm limiting myself with, okay? And our goal is to not just live here in all of our areas, but our goal is to get to that growth zone. And I'll tell you firsthand, when we talk about like the different areas of your life, you're not going to be growth in every single area, right? We want to be focused, but when we can really have that courage to step out, boom, that's where it's at. Does that make sense, guys? Any questions about that? Nada? And so this is, I love this woman. Her name's Rebecca. She's like one of my favorite humans ever. She's 72 years old. And Rebecca did one of our lifting meets at our other location that we had prior to coming to the Armory, shut up. And she was scared out of her brain to do our lifting meet. Like I think I had to talk her into it like 20 times to do it. And I remember she walked into the venue at our event, and she's like, Kelsey, can I leave? Like I just don't want to be here. Like, can I go back? I was like, you got this, chill, like take a deep breath. And even before she went out on her deadlift, she was like looking at me and she was shaking. I was like, hey, like you can do it. She went up to that platform. She was still shaking as she grabbed that bar. Boom, and then she pulled up. And you can't tell in this picture, but she started crying after that because she's like, I did not think I could do this. Oh, wait, I just did it. And she actually ended up with 150 pounds, which is insane. 72 years old, 150 pounds. Like that's crazy, right? And then this woman went on to compete in this event and do this and do that. And I remember she told me she went out to her car after our event, and she just broke down. She was like, I realized in that moment, I just did something that I didn't physically think that I could do. And she's like, well, if I can do that, what other areas of my life am I limiting myself with just because my brain doesn't think that I can do it? And I was like, that is exactly why we do what we do, and that is exactly the feeling that I want every single one of you to feel. She's amazing. And y'all know Brenda? Brenda's amazing. She did our event too. She's great. So I want you to think about this and write this down too if you have a pen, is when I'm talking about this, there's usually one thing that comes up where it's like, oh, I don't want to lean into that. What is one thing on the other side of your comfort zone? I want you to think about it. What is one thing on the other side of your comfort zone? Running. And go ahead and give me some eyeballs when you're done. What is one thing that you might have been avoiding that you're like, oh, that doesn't feel good, but is on the other side of your comfort zone? Give me some eyeballs after. I won't call you out, I promise. He knows I'll probably call him out on something. What is one thing on the other side of your comfort zone? And if you can't think of it yet, wait until we go to this next one. I think something will pop up for you. Oh, God. That's scary. If anybody is willing, I won't call anybody yet. Give me what you wrote. I'll wait. Go ahead.
I put two things. I put running very far distance.
That's good.
And I also put kind of generically pushing myself to the next level of success in my business.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Love it. Anybody else? One more thing. I promise you.
This is totally the ass backwards.
He's going to put something in his comfort zone. Oh, that's good, Shaik. That's good.
Far outside of comfort. Mm-hmm. I don't even know how to go. It takes a lot of spicy Mars and a bacon, to get into this.
That's so good. That's so good. That's uncomfortable for you, though, right? So, like, that's the same exact thing. I love it. And especially for a lot of, like, high performers, like go-getters, right? Contentment is really hard because we're so used to setting goals and doing things, and we got to go here, here, here. And I think I love that you shared that because it's just as important to know how can I stay content, but also not lose this sense of I'm going to lose that edge, right? I love it. I love it. So we're going to now talk about finding your number one area of growth to pursue. And I talk with a lot of our women about this is, like I said, it's not just the physical, but can we look at a bird's eye view? And this is something that I do personally for me kind of usually every single quarter, especially every single year. And this is my 5 Fs. If you have a different one, by all means go for it. But this is the areas that I really like to look at for me. Is number one, fitness, right? How is my fitness doing? How is my health doing? Because if I'm not healthy, I can't serve anybody. So that's number one. Number 2 is my family, and you can also pull like relationships or friends into this one. Okay. Number 3 is finance. That's pretty self-explanatory. Number 4, which is one of the biggest areas for me, is my faith. And you have to believe what I believe, but like spiritually, how are you feeling? Do you feel connected to something? And the number 5, and like this, oh, you have fun, you're good. But also, if you're a pretty high performer, and it's like you're used to just going, where's my fun at in my life, right? So fitness, family, finance, faith, and fun. And when I'm going to have you do this next thing, I'm going to challenge you not to get emotional about this. Don't judge yourself. Get pretty objective and be honest with yourself about this. And so I want you, and you can do this on the buckets or right to the side of it, is I want you to rate a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is it's non-existent or it's terrible. A 10 is like, Kelsey, this cannot get better. Where are you at in these different buckets? So your fitness scale of 1 to 10. Your family, friends, relationships, wherever you want to do, scale of 1 to 10. Your finance, scale of 1 to 10. Your faith, and then also your fun. And these are the 5 that I use. If you have something that hits better, by all means go for it, but this allows me to kind of look at a bird's eye view of my life. And I won't call you out to share your number. Nobody's sharing their number, I promise. Fitness, family, finance, faith, and fun. And then some eyeballs. Cool. All right. Like I said, I'm not going to call you out to share your numbers by any means, but I want you to take a look at those numbers, and I want you to say, okay, where is the lowest, or which area that I didn't even realize maybe been an area for me? Where is the biggest area of growth? Where's the place? What bucket is it that I can grow in the most going forward for this? And when you have it, just give me a head nod. Is Is anybody willing to share their bucket, not their number, their bucket? Come on now. I'm going to call you out. What one sticks out to you? That's good. That's good. That's good. Can you share yours? That's good. That's good. You share yours? Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. I love it. Like I said, I won't make you share your numbers, but I want you to think about this, and this is one of the boxes. Is let's say your fitness is a 4. Let's say your faith is a 5. What is one thing that we can make that 5 go to a 6? What is one thing that we can make that 4 go to a 5, or that 5 go to a 6? Now take a moment to write it down. Think about it and write it down. What is one actionable thing that we can make your 4 go to a 5, or 5 go to a 6? Y'all didn't know you were going to be in class today. 4 to 5 or 5 to 6? And as you guys are writing, I'm not going to share the whole story of this, but this is something like I do quite often in my life, because I think it's important to look in the accountability mirror a little bit, right? It's not to judge ourselves, it's not to get too emotional about it, but I think it's really important to say, okay, like, is my life going in the trajectory that I want it to, or am I neglecting an area? And for me, not that it's easy, but like the fitness stuff, like I enjoy pushing myself, even though it kind of sucks sometimes. Like I enjoy that. That's my kind of comfort zone in an uncomfortable way, if that makes sense. For me, there was a more personal life. There was something that I was avoiding, like the plague. Like I just did not want to do it. It was uncomfortable, and I had to, literally I did it last year at this time. I had to take a look in the accountability mirror to say, okay, Kels, you can either keep seeking discomfort in fitness because it's comfortable to you, or you can do the thing that you know that you need to do, but you really don't want to do. That is so much unknown going forward. That is so much discomfort. And I'll tell you, going through it, it sucked, for lack of a better way to say it. It was terrible, but sitting here a year later, I am more myself, and I am more grounded than I've ever been. And so that's why I like to take a bird's eye view of that, because it can be easy for us as like really big go-getters to say, fitness, do this, set a goal. But really, how are we doing with that? So number 3 here, and then we're going to get rocking pretty soon, is you are meant to live, not just be alive. You are meant to live, not just be alive. And I'm not going to have you guys share too much, but we're going to do a rapid fire. And I want you to think about this. Is number 1, what did you do in 2017? See if you can think about it. What did you do in 2017? All right, next one. What did you do in 2007? Were you even born in 2007? I don't think. She was 2. He said, I told you. All right, number 3. What did you do in 2022? Quick, think. Number 4, what did you do in 2013? Think. Last one, what did you do in 2024? Out of those numbers, did anything stick out to you? Could you think of anything? Give me one thing. Huh? But do you remember a specific event or something that defined that date? Anybody? Ooh, that's good. Wait, your driver's license? How old are you? Oh, you're young. Okay. Nice. Nice. That's good. Anybody else? Give me it. Oh, that's good. Okay, that's good. For many of you, though, that was freaking hard. You're like, I don't know what I did on any of those years, right? So now I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to ask you a thing and say, what year did you do this, okay? Number 1, and you actually shout this out loud, because I just want to hear some dates. When did you graduate high school? Okay. When did you graduate college, if you graduated college? Okay. Last one, and some of you will know this really schlegs. If you don't get this, I'm going to be really disappointed. When did the Buckeyes win a national title? I told you, right? That was fast, right? We couldn't think of the dates that we did, but those last ones were fast. And the reason why we remember those is because those are very year-defining things, right? When I graduate college, when I graduate high school, and those are numbers that we can rattle off really fast. But what a lot of times happens, and this is myself included with all of this stuff, is it's really easy to get caught up in the routine and like the everyday just aspects of life, like the shoulds, okay? And then we basically graduate college, and it's like, what did I do in the last 10 years? Like there's been certain years where I don't even know what happened last year. And we always think, like, how did that go by so fast? And this is a term that I absolutely love. I've really clung on to over the last 2 years. And what a misogi is it's a year-defining goal that pushes you past your limit for you to see what your true potential is, but you also remember what that year was about. And this is, did anybody know who Jesse Itzler is? Big fan. He's a big fan of what his content is. And he challenges everybody to do a misogi one time a year. Because it's really easy to be like, okay, this year went by, this year went by, this year went by, but like, what actually happened with this? And so, like I said, the misogi, it's actually an old Japanese adage, but it's this year-defining goal that you can look back and say, 2023, I did X, Y, Z. 2024, I did this. 2025, I did this. And yes, it can be physical. A lot of times when you think about misogi, it is something physical. Like my 100 was a misogi. It was really hard. But this can also be, hey, I started a business in this year. This can also be, hey, I moved across country. Like whatever that is, that defines that year. And there's a guy named Dr. Marcus Elliott. Has anybody read The Comfort Crisis? Oh, y'all need to write that book down. It is one of the best books I have ever read in my life. But there's a guy named Dr. Marcus Elliott, and he's a Harvard-trained physician. He actually has a big sport performance company. I think it's in Boston called P3 Sports. And it's funny because the author of this book wanted to get in contact with him. And when he got the call, he was like, I don't want to talk about any more sport performance stuff. Like he was kind of over that at that point. And then the author was like, no, I want to talk to you about a misogi. And as soon as he said that word, he's like, fly him out, come out, like, let's talk about this. And he had this quote, and I loved it. He said, let's say your potential is this big circle, and y'all will see a circle on your paper. He then pulls his hands closer, and he goes, well, most of us live in this small space right here. We have no idea what exists at the edge of our potential. And by not having an idea what it's like out on the edge, man, we really miss on something vital. And so right here, it's like we are capable of all these things. But just like our comfort zone, we live in that little red dot because that's what's safe, that's what's comfortable, and we never really have the courage to pursue anything outside of that edge. And I thought it was so fascinating that this guy that works with the top tier athletes, he's like, no, the sport performance stuff is cool, but this is what actually changes people's lives. And I'm going to botch this, but I want to say he plays basketball. Kyle Korver, does anybody know who that is? He's a basketball player, right? Yeah. So he did a lot of like sport performance stuff with him. He said the moment that he challenged him to do a misogi, his numbers in the NBA went off the charts because he unlocked another level of himself, which I thought was so fascinating. And so not that you need to put something crazy, and you might not even know this yet, but I want you guys to start thinking, okay, what is my year-defining thing for 2025? I'm no longer waking up next year and then forgetting what even just happened or continuing to go through the motions. What is something that I can look back on and say, hey, this is what I did 2025, okay? Not that you need to do Mission 48 or run 100 miles, but those are like, 2023, that's what I did. 2024, that's what I did. 2025, this is crazy. There's Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. We're rowing the entire Pearl Harbor 15-mile thing on Pearl Harbor weekend. So it's like, those are like year-defining things where it's like, that is what I did on that year, right? Number 3. Number 4, the last one, guys, here, and this is super simple, is either you seek it or it seeks you. You seek it or it seeks you. And at the end of the day, you get to choose. And this is what I personally have felt. This is what I call the nudge. It's that little whisper, that little thought idea that's deep in your soul that is the possibility of something to pursue, but is really uncomfortable, and we want to push it down. Like Schlegs, I'm just going to use you as an example. It's like, man, comfort zone is really uncomfortable for me. So this might be that thought, that idea of like, man, maybe I should kind of lean into that a little bit. But a lot of times we go back to our patterns and it's like, no, let's just set another goal. Let's do this, let's do this. And so we want to avoid that nudge. We want to avoid that thought, that little whisper inside of our soul. And I like this quote. It says, the nudge often comes ever so gently. Something is pricking your spirit. It's God's way of elbowing you to get your attention. But a lot of times that elbow, it's like, no, I didn't feel that. Like, I didn't get that. And I'll share a story that I have had that many times. And then once you get so many elbows, and I've had this in my life, here comes the hammer, baby. Like, God's like, all right, I'm tired of elbowing you. You're not paying attention. So let me put something really hard in your life that you can't ignore. Let me do this thing where it's so uncomfortable, and this is why a lot of times I hate to say this, but it's happened to me too. Change won't happen until the thought of discomfort is greater than the thought of change, right? So change won't happen until it's like it gets so uncomfortable that it's like, I cannot live like this anymore, okay? And we hope that we don't need the hammer, but I know for me a lot of times in my life, it's like, well, that's so uncomfortable that God's literally trying to elbow me in the gut to continue to make a direction going forward. And I remember this specifically. This is, for me, Mission 48, where this would have been maybe 3 years ago. Does anybody know who the Iron Cowboy is at all? Oh, he's wild. He did, you think what I did was crazy. He did 50 Ironmans, which is a full marathon, 112-mile bike, 2-mile swim, in 50 states in 50 days, which those events take like 18 hours to do. And he has a documentary. I highly recommend it. It's called the 50-50-50. He has a documentary out, and I was watching him do this crazy 50-50-50. And I remember I was sitting on the couch with my dog and a friend, and after I watched that, it once again was the elbow of like, well, what if? Like, what could you do, Kels? Like, what if you did? And it was originally going to be 48 different fitness competitions in 48 states in 48 weeks. And I was like, ooh, I could speak at a school for young girls like on a Wednesday and then do a Spartan race on a Saturday. And a year and a half later, I continued to push it down. Like, it kept coming up for me, but I continued to push it down. And we were serving a lot of women at the time. Like, we were doing good work, but I was still so unfulfilled. And I remember there was one night a year and a half later, I walked for about 3 hours because I just needed to get out with my dog. And I was just praying. I was like, do I do this? Do I not do it? And it was crazy. The next morning, I said, God, like, send me a sign, man. Like, I just need something. Like, send me a sign. The next morning, I was mid really heavy back squat, and I, for some reason, chose a podcast instead of listening to music. And in that podcast, and I never do this, this guy was interviewing this other guy that he ended up doing these crazy missions and campaigns fitness-wise, and he would raise money for charity. And I remember listening to this, and I'm like, this is literally the exact thing that I want to do. And I remember saying mid-back squat, I'm like, Kelsey, like, you're doing this, right? But it took me a year and a half to actually have the courage to do that thing. And so for that year and a half, God was nudging me. He's like, Kelsey, like, go this direction, go this direction. But I needed the hammer. I needed the discontentment. I needed the unfulfillment to be so great enough for me to actually do the thing. And so I'm going to challenge us to not do what I just did, but can we listen to the nudge instead of have to get the hammer for this? And to wrap this all up, I always say either you seek the hard, and this comes with fitness. You either continue to push your limits fitness, or hard will seek you. Hopefully it's not, injury or disease or illness, but sometimes it does take that, right? Number 2, you either seek growth or it seeks you. I've seen this happen with a lot of our women. I'm either shying away from continuing to grow, or something life will happen that'll force me to grow. Number 3, you seek discomfort or discomfort seeks you. And this doesn't mean, like I said, to make everything in your life uncomfortable, but are we staying just safe? Are we staying with what we just know? And then at the end of the day, either you seek it or it seeks you. You get to choose this. So I want you to reflect one last thing as we kind of wrap up, is what is one thing that you're going to seek? What is one thing as you kind of reflect back on this? That it's like, that is that one area of growth for me, and that is one thing that I'm going to pursue versus just wait for life to happen towards me and not pursue. And if there's any courageous souls who can share. You're like, heck no, I ain't doing that. There you go, that's good, that's good. That's good, I feel that, I feel that. Yeah. That's good though, that's good. That's so good. That's so good. I feel that deeply. I'll talk to all the people. I don't want to be behind a computer though. That's good. Anybody else, guys? Come on, give me 2 more. Give me so. Love it. That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay, last one. I will call on somebody, I promise. Go ahead. Give me something, yeah. It's good. Hey, it's running. Who's some runners in here? We got some runners in here. Y'all are crazy. I don't know what you do. That's insane. So as we wrap up, guys, once again, just the 4 main points is everything great is on the other side of your comfort zone. Number 2, you found your one area of growth. If you didn't find it, it's this one thing. There's probably something that came up for you in that, right? Number 3, you were meant to live, not just be alive. And then number 4, you either seek it, you either do the computer work, or that computer work's going to catch up to you and it will seek you, right? And at the end of the day, my goal is to put myself in the driver's seat. I'm no longer in the passenger seat to life and let life happen to me. Can I be in the driver's seat? And it's not that I'm in this crazy control. In my thoughts, God's still in control, but I want to put myself in the driver's seat to make the best life that I can, which I think God's calling us to, in my opinion. Cool? Thank you. I appreciate it.
Up to Q&A,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
and I'm starting because I want to know this.
Okay.
I actually want to know it from a female perspective. But why don't people seek discomfort?
I think
I mean, I'm talking all the women that you're talking about. But
Yeah.
it could be just this could be for athletes. This could be for people that are in doctors that you're seeing, right? What is some reasons that people just don't want to go seek that?
This is my thought. Take it or leave it, right? I like to look at everything from a also physiology standpoint. What is our brain saying to us? Discomfort, there's unknown that comes with that. Your brain doesn't know if you're going to survive. And so we have to overcome already patterning that doesn't want us to do that thing, And so I think that for me puts into context of when I'm feeling these thoughts or these fears, it's okay, no. I can feel that stuff, but I can still pursue it anyway. And back in the day when I first started, it's I thought those things were facts. If I felt those fear, or I felt my brain being "Ooh, you can't do this thing," or what will happen, then I thought it just wasn't meant for me. And so I think first is in my opinion, we got to overcome all of our kind of hardwiring in our brain, first things. But then also number 2, it's it sucks, for lack of a better way. It's hard. It's there's unknown. It's uncomfortable. But I think Schlegs, and this is what I found with me personally, but our women, it's when you do it once, when you seek discomfort once and you push past that edge and you realize what's on the other side, it gives you that courage and also that confidence to continue to pursue it and want to pursue it. So I think it comes down to a safety thing in your brain, but also you got to prove yourself once to continue to kind of open up what's on the other side too. But I'm interested if anybody else has thoughts too.
That's life experiences, right? Slow you down from that. And I'm just thinking I'm talking about my daughter, right, or my wife. You also got to be there to help walk through. It'd be more encouraging to make it less uncomfortable, maybe, for them to go there. Boom. Who else? What else? Anybody have another question? Yeah, go ahead.
Kelsey, looking at the circle, I think. Hello?
Yeah,
Okay. And maybe that's the ancestral,
Yeah.
survival mode of saber-toothed tigers, but
Yeah.
then the other 2 are where we want to go, right? Learning zone, growth zone. And maybe this is kind of what Schlegg was saying. But is there a tip or trick to get from fear zone to learning zone, right? I see that, right?
Yeah.
I know that's the business I want to start. I know I want to go run that marathon, but it seems so far out there. Is there how does someone, how do you, when you see, when you looked at the 100, it probably was the rest of us now. That's crazy. There's no way. What's one thing that you could kind of flip the script in your mind to take the first step?
So I'm gonna bring in Mission 48 with this because there's no playbook to put together a whole national campaign, And it's I had 100 things to do. So what I did is I brain dumped all the ideas, and there was 200 actionable things that I could do. And what has helped me, because there was so much fear with that of can you even pull this off? Is this just freaking crazy? How much money? All of the questions were coming up my brain, and I had to say, okay, Kels, you got to do one thing today. It can be the smallest, stupid little thing, and it can be call 2 gyms up to see if they could host an event for you. And so what's helped me is not just to mentally work through that, but what actionable item am I doing to show up that's going to move me an inch closer? And so if I can continually think about, okay, how am I going to win today to move me closer? How am I going to win today to move me closer? In my opinion, it gets me out of my brain, but then it also gives me data of like, okay, I've actually done things towards this goal, because I think a lot of people think about doing stuff. I've done this. You think about it, or you want to step out of your comfort zone, but then we just think ourselves out of it, or we just continually think, well, I'm going to work on my mindset. It's like, no, what are you doing that's going to move you closer to it? And when we can get objective and actually take an action step, you realize you're going to be 10 steps farther. In that fear zone, the fears don't get less, you just get farther, in my opinion. So I think just taking an action step is huge.
Thanks.
Huge.
I think going off his point, me and Sam have talked about this a lot. Of like, there's not going to be any tip or trick. It's kind of just like there's not going to be any shortcuts.
Yeah.
I think me personally, like whether it's my fitness journey or training for sport, is like you got to just do it. Like you can like keep going through the motions, or like you can just go out there and just give it everything you have. But like there's not going to be any easy way around it or any shortcuts to the method. You have to just put in the work and wake up every day and just get better at it, honestly.
Yeah, and it was actually funny, the 100 that I just ran, I was literally walking up to the start line, and I'm like, how in the freak do I run 100 miles? Like, I literally still couldn't conceptually think about it. And a lot of people ask, like, oh, like, how'd you do the training? I'm like, you just do it. Like, you just don't think about it, and it says, okay, this is when I'm waking up, this is what's on the plan today, I'm just going to freaking do it. And kind of to your point, especially with young girls, we get so much in our brain about it. Oh my God, it's going to be so bad. Oh my God, it's going to suck. Like, we build this up to this thing that's so scary for us. We can kind of get out of our emotions with that and just do the stupid thing. You realize it's actually not as bad as what you think it is, or sometimes it is. Like, the 100 was worse than what I thought it was, but you just got to do it, you know? So I like that thought. Go ahead.
I'm not exactly sure how to phrase this question, but when you do something like 100 miles or 48 states, 40 days, when you're kind of like hoarding that over to the rest of your life,
Yeah.
think about, okay, I just achieved this crazy thing that maybe a year ago felt impossible. Like, how have you personally like deconstructed that experience and been like, okay, if I can do this, like now I can, you know, in my personal life or in my business.
Yeah.
How do you kind of unpack that experience and use that? Like, what are some of the things that you do that?
For me, it's never been about like the finishing the thing. Like at the 100, it's like I kind of am terrible at this too. It's like, oh, I did it. Cool. Like, what's the next thing? You know, like that's kind of how my brain is operated. And I think too, being in that environment, like people ran. I was telling, I think Kyle back there. There's somebody that ran 450 miles that weekend. There's somebody that ran 200 miles. And it's like what I did was like small comparatively. So for me, it was never about finishing the thing. Oh, like what did I learn? It's the whole 6-month journey where I had to build the person up to be able to run 100. And so it's like the days that sucked, that you saw me on there for freaking 8 hours, it's like I took those qualities of like, Kelsey, you didn't give up in this 8-hour workout. Okay, cool. If you can do an 8-hour workout, finish this freaking computer task. Like, you can do this, you know? So I take kind of those small little pieces from the journey that it doesn't, and this is just a me thing, whenever I pursue this next thing, it's not that I don't feel fear. It's not that I don't feel like, oh, can I do this? But I have so much past history of, well, you did this thing that you didn't think that you could do. Well, then maybe, yes, you can pursue this too, right? And so for me, it just gives me more data of like, okay, if I've done that stuff, cool, I can do this other stuff too. But I still get fearful a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I love that question too. And I'm big about like being system focused over goal focused. Is like we need the goal to be desirable. Like if I don't want to run 200 miles. Like I don't care about that goal, you know. So I'm not going to really care about the system. But as long as the goal is something that's like desirable, like I want to do this thing, I say set it, forget it. Like, let's focus on the system. And for us, that looks like, okay, how are we fueling? Like, what's the training program look like? And if I can get their brain out of the goal and onto you just execute today, and you do that thing today, but then also, let's talk through the fears that come up. Let's talk through what you're a little bit nervous about or hesitant about. You can usually get them to realize, like, oh, just a stupid story I'm telling myself. And it's not that that story goes away. It's not that it's like, oh, poof, great, I'm amazing now. But when we can objectively see it versus believe it, that's when we can start tearing that story down a little bit. So I'm just a big system girl. I think it's huge, you know, and it also overcomes the fear a lot of times. It's like, okay, I don't got to worry about if I'm going to get to that goal. I always tell, like, our crew, put that pressure on me, don't put that pressure on you. Put that pressure on me to help you get to that goal and worry about that. All you got to do is follow the plan. If you follow the plan, beautiful, and then I'll adjust, I'll course correct, but as long as you execute that, then we should be good. So I don't know if that helps, but that's been huge for me too. That running sucks. I'm just kidding. No, that's the last part, and then I promise it's not all going to be about the 100. But at mile 48, like, I literally thought I was done. I was like, I can't do this. I had really bad nerve pain in my feet. Every step that I took, you know when you get like pins and needles in your feet, or like they're asleep, and you take the step and it just feels like there's like a bunch of needles going up? It felt like that from mile 23 to 100. And so I got to 48, and I was like broken. Like, after every single loop, I would go on all fours, and I just had to like put pressure off my feet. And I was not planning on sleeping that whole time. I was like just wanting to run through it. But somebody from my crew, he saw how bad I was doing, and he's like, Kelsey, like, just do one more loop and like sleep for an hour. And that felt like heaven to me. I'm like, yeah, like, let's do it, baby. And so I slept for an hour, and when I woke up, my feet were in worse condition than when I went to bed. And I was like, oh, this is freaking terrible. And it was the next morning of that time frame, and once I just kept moving, like, not that it felt better, but like I kept going. And so what I think I learned about myself is, when you think you're not even halfway there, when you think that you're done, girl, you got so much more in the tank. Like, I had another 20 hours running after that, and I thought I was done, you know? And so it's just like, our brain puts a governor on us. It's a David Gaga thing. He's like, you're done, you're only at 40%. And that's like what I kept telling myself during that, which I think was huge. Anything else, guys? Awesome. Nada? I appreciate it.